What's happening, everybody? We gotta watch video reaction video thingy mabobber with Dorian D. Booma San, the Digital Samurai for Truth on January 7th, 2026. I said sex. Six. Anyways, let me make sure everything gets all set up here. Let me know if you can hear me. I know the music's playing. I don't know if you can hear me over the music. Ooh! We have some people here, even on the Substack. Welcome. Over on the YouTube. Ooh, seeing some new names. Brownie Adine. Leanne Womack. I suck at reading names if you don't know. You guys can hear me all right? Aria Macias. Carrie B. And then we got our good Carl and Hanny. Hey, you girl. And LJA21. Valerie Smith, what's up? What is up, everybody? This should be fun. I literally just, like, again, and sometimes it's just fun, you know, to, like, just be spontaneous. I have a lot of ex-girlfriends that said I wasn't spontaneous enough. Look at me now, ladies. Anyways, finishing up here, what is happening? I'm gonna make this a little bigger. Make it a little bigger for y'all. We'll try that. Everybody can hear me. Excellent. Widow's memory, that Booma. What's up, everybody? Nice to see you guys. We're gonna have some fun at the expense of some of the characters that are gonna be in the video that we're gonna do a little watch party on. And it's like 2-hour video, so I don't think we're gonna watch the whole thing. And I think I'd probably throw up too many times if I have to listen to Gene's voice. But I will do it, and I will sacrifice for all of you, because that's just the kind of guy I am. Anyways, a couple updates before we get going. What's up? Yo! Yes, I am dedicated to calling out the retards. If you've ever been harmed, if you've ever been taken advantage of by a truther, then please see D-Mind of Booma San on YouTube, Rumble, and Substack. And click the like, subscribe, and set up your notification bell. All that dumbass gay shit. What's up, brother? What is up? Excellent. Congratulations on being off work. That's always a good day. Well, usually. Yeah, so it's going to be, as you saw in the title, a watch party reaction video to the Typical Skeptic Podcast. So I'll have some updates, and my brain's a little like, got to get in the mode kind of a deal. I think I'm on my third cup of coffee now. But it's going to be a podcast with Gene Decode, Kerry Cassidy, and Indigo Angel. Now, I don't know as much about Indigo Angel, but every once in a while she floated onto the scene in the past where I've watched it. And I haven't really watched a lot of these idiots for a long time, and it's been better for my sanity. However, I am getting into it with all kinds of people nowadays because I'm just tired of the bullshit and the liars and the moles and the con. I don't know what you call them anymore, man. They're infiltrators. They are operatives, and so let me start off with the Typical Podcast was the podcast that Karen Ann McDonald told me that she was going to get me on, that Gene had been on, and she was telling me all these things about how she's going to get me on there. And then I found out who it was, and it was like the guy that interviewed like Pamela Lee Richards, who came on, and we did one episode, and the second one's coming. And he was so freaking geeked, stoned out of his mind, or whatever you want to say, that he wasn't even there. It was like his physical body was there, but he was like, it was the worst interview that I've ever seen. So fuck him for that and his unprofessionalism. And maybe everybody has a bad day every once in a while. I get that, but that's ridiculous. So I already, and you'll get to see these characters as I pull them up. But that was frustrating to see how disrespectful it was of him to not be just cancel, or just say, you know what, I overdid the edibles or whatever it was that he was on, and need to reschedule and do something. It was just ridiculous. Anyway, so I already didn't like the Typical Skeptic Podcast, but Karen Ann McDonald, I have now blocked your ass out of my Telegram chat. And if you want to come on Booma Streaming, know that you're going to be confronted, because I'm tired of the bullshit. Because you didn't follow through with that, regardless of whether or not I was going to go on there or not. So there's that. And then she hasn't followed up with various things. So Karen Ann McDonald, We've been kicking people out of the Telegram chats that are frauds. The Fringe is on. I have destroyed the Fringe. And if anybody liked the Fringe, me too. I did. I thought she was cool, and I was excited about having her on for the Bloodline stuff. No, she's an infiltrator. She's a drama starter, saying she doesn't want any drama, but she was completely sided with non-vaxxer 420 and talking smack. So the Fringe is... And she won't even defend herself. She doesn't even have the cojones, the metaphorical cojones. I thought she was a badass chick, and she's just a coward. So the Fringe is done. Then there's another woman, Kim, not a big deal, whatever. People probably don't know who she is. She's done. I did talk to Chris of InfoCrypt, and I felt like we had a good back and forth. I will say that. And respect to him for being a man and at least speaking to me. There'll be more to come on that kind of stuff, I'm sure. And then, yesterday, so I'm just airing out a little bit of laundry, and then I'll get to an exciting news, and then we'll get to the watch party. It was interesting going back and watching that one that I did on Kim Gagoyan, whatever it is, fake name, Kim, liar, pants on fire, another different kind of truther. And I brought back the blue flame, and now I got a backdrop. So you've seen, it was like when I was bringing in all my new toys and stuff like that with a microphone and stuff like that. It was kind of funny. And I definitely was a little slimmer back then, too. It is what it is. But it's funny to see it come full circle, I guess, to a watch party a little over a year later, I guess, and see where I'm at with things. There's even more frauds, and it's way worse than I ever even would have expected back then. I just thought it was some of the main players. But no, it's people infiltrating Telegram chats, causing gossip, causing drama, and pretending like they don't want no drama when they're the ones causing it behind the scenes. And then they get caught in their secret little chat group talking shit. I love that stuff. So anyways, this one's going to break some hearts, but I got into it with 7Cs yesterday, and to me, and you, what I've said in that video, on what I'm talking about, the Kim Gagoyan or whatever watch party, and a lot of videos of the past, on this video, you do not have to believe a damn thing I say. You don't have to agree with a damn thing I say. I'm going to say right now, though, fuck 7Cs. That motherfucker did not keep his word. He's not reached out to me. And then he asked me to work with a group that had pretended to be me and cause a lot of the mayhem that happened between me and the MG show because they pretend to be like Boom D or something like that in their live chat to piss them all off and make them think it was me, which it wasn't. But they started attacking me again. After that asshole, 7Cs, asked me to work with them or unblock them and shit. And so I did. And then they started attacking me, and they came at me with a bread room, who were worshipers of Lin Wood. And then Lin Wood turned on them and proved himself to be a psychotic, demonic, whatever you want to call it. So I'm like, fuck 7Cs. Because he, one, did not keep his word. When we got done with our interview, he was all giddy about doing an immediate one the next and following week. Thursday. He even said Thursday. And so I set it up. I got something in my nose. Son of a bitch. I think I got it. Lives forever. You guys got that. Anyways, he wanted to do a show the following week. I texted him and DM'd him twice, rescheduling. I didn't really have to reschedule anything, but I did bump somebody so that I could have him come on. And he never, I saw it. It shows that he saw it, and he never responded. And I thought maybe health and all that stuff. I gave him graces for a long time ago. This is months ago, guys. And then someone said that he did mention in one of his podcasts, like, yeah, I don't know what happened there. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't D's fault. I don't know what happened. We were supposed to, blah, blah, do something. It wasn't his fault. And you still didn't text me. You could have texted me right then, motherfucker, and just been like, hey, I'm sorry I haven't gotten back to you. I'm a man of forgiveness. I would have forgiven you. But then I got pissed off because all of a sudden I'm getting attacked again by the person who told me to unblock, and their goons that come from the bread room that now their idol, Lin Wood, turned on them, and now they're all scattered. And then they talk shit on me about Gene Decode when I've exposed Gene like no one else. I don't see them even exposing Lin Wood. Freaking frauds, liars everywhere. So 7Cs, I'm not happy with 7Cs, so fuck him. If you still like him, cool. I don't give a shit. His webs have gotten nowhere, but like, why is the guy anonymous? And why does he call himself 7Cs? And if anybody's seen Dean of Sound for Sound's breakdown of him, oh damn. Not good. What's he hiding? Because he's not a Q-tard, so he's not anonymous for that. So anyways, Anyways, join this community at such an inopportune time. Is it because of all the drama? I know, right? That's kind of fun too. It's we're exposing more than like. So it started out, I thought I was just exposing talking heads of people that had little, like Gene Decode's got a sizable name and platform in his little echo chamber of the truther movement and all this kind of stuff. But no, it comes all the way down to the little guys and people that are not even doing videos and stuff. They're just on the social media is causing problems. It's stupid. Uh. 3 weeks ago, Seven said that he would back the next day. It took him 3 weeks. Not so stable. Yeah, and he has some health things or whatnot, but I mean, like, I've seen him do lives. I've seen him. He did some live on some show that ended up being featured on the main page of Rumble when he rails against Rumble and shit. I was like, how the heck? Like, my worry with Seven Seas was that he was going to be the next Ian Carroll and that he was going to blow the heck up. And I was starting to watch out for him, and that hasn't happened. So even if he has health stuff, and I told him at the end, after the show, I said I'll be praying for you, and I know you're going through some health stuff, and he doesn't talk about it a whole lot. So prayers to him for that. I don't wish ill will on him, but when a man doesn't keep his word, like I said about non-vaxxer, he isn't worth shit to me anymore. And Seven Seas never kept his word, and he never apologized. Like, he didn't have to follow through right away because I get it, life happens. Health happens. He literally was on a live and said, yeah, I don't know what happened with that whole thing. It wasn't his fault, but we just never reconnected. And then I let time go by, and he never even said anything after that. Never sent a text like, hey, bro, sorry I never connected with you. I'll try to get back with you. I've been having health problems. That's all I would have needed. And he didn't do it. Fuck him. And I got attacked like crazy yesterday, and it was fucking retarded. I know, right? Dean exposed his imagery, and that's in question. Also, just know, for the people that are still going to like Seven Seas, just to give you a heads up, you don't have to give a shit about what I say about him. He admittedly hung out with Sam Tripoli, who has the Tinfoil Podcast. I think he's a homo. I don't care. Whatever it is. I just hate when people lie. Just be who you are. Anyways, Sam Tripoli pumps Mel K, ex-porn star, fake truther, full of shit. He pumps her. Sam Tripoli. He got called out a long time ago by a young kid named Matthew North, who did a lot of great work. Was either taken out or it drove him to suicide. I don't know, but he was freaking a rock star, and he called out a lot of the shit that I'm finally like catching up to right now. But he called out Sam Tripoli, and he exposed Joe Rogan more than anybody else ever has. But Sam Tripoli goes on with Joe Rogan every once in a while. He's connected to Joe Rogan. He's connected to that sizable of the PSYOP beasts. And Joe Rogan is arguably right in the top 5 of the worst and most powerful podcasters that exist. So Seven Seas is somehow connected to Sam Tripoli that connects to Joe Rogan. What's going on there? And he doesn't share his real name. Aren't we past that? He's not a Q-tard. What the fuck is he hiding? There's something there. Anyways, wow. I spent more time on that, but I exposed some more assholes and what's going on with me recently. I didn't know what I was going to do next, but yes, rest in peace, Matthew North. He was a bright kid and really amazing, calling out Trump from the very beginning, showing how the PSYOPs worked. Called out. He tied Joe Rogan all the way to George Soros money, and he showed how it's a military operation, basically, or some kind of operation that's completely controlled to make it look organic, but it's controlled, even the startup of it, and how they brought in this Jamie Vernon, I think is his name. Either way, they call him Young Jamie. He always is the guy that I bet apparently, he does all the stuff where he shows stuff on the screen and he controls the production while they're talking. And his father, I think, is connected in the military. Anyways, the funding of that was connected to a lot of things. Some companies that now are gone because Matthew North exposed certain things. And then I've talked to Dean. So here's the good stuff. I talked to Dean yesterday, and he's going to try to come on Friday evening. And we exposed in the last one I did with Dean of Sound for Sound, the one that does the phonetic reversals and also all the flipping of the pictures and shows how they communicate in their cults, and they do the stuff on purpose, set things up in a certain way, use certain color combinations and all of that. He exposed the shit out of Seven Seas. Like, it was like Seven Seas is connected right into the whole dang thing. He did the same thing with the Fango to a certain degree, but Seven Seas, he just did it. I never asked him to. I just saw him like, oh shit, he's doing Seven Seas. I wonder why he's doing Seven Seas. And I watched it. I was like, I think he did 2 videos on him, but he played the Marilyn Manson song "Sweet Dreams Are Made of These," or I guess the cover that Marilyn Manson did, and it talks about the 7 Seas in that. What is it talking about? Wonder why he chose his name. Could be all satanic for all I know. I don't know. But anyways, Dean is supposed to come on Friday, and then I Zoomed with the Biscuits yesterday, and we're looking for season 2, and we have some ideas. It won't be exactly the same, but the gong and a certain wheel and some things. But I don't want to give too much away. We're gonna have a pilot episode and discuss that hopefully next Tuesday if we can get everything lined up. But the Biscuits is gonna be returning, and so tentatively it'll be next Tuesday. So those are some exciting things, and then we'll get back to work on some of this stuff. And I think that was everything. Let's get to the watch party. And like I said, this freaking video is super long, so I don't plan on watching the whole thing. We're going to watch it in regular speed to start with, and then I think I'm going to speed it up, and then we'll see how far we get through. What is up? I appreciate y'all being here, especially last minute. But yes, yay Biscuits. And people love the Biscuits. I was talking to Sabrina yesterday, too, and she was saying she met somebody, or she was talking with somebody. Did she say they were international? But they were fans of the Biscuits. So Biscuits is known by way more people than maybe even he realizes, and they really just love his mind and the way that he breaks things down and his take on stuff. So we'll have fun no matter what we do, even if the production like we have some ideas. We'll see what happens, but no matter what, we're always gonna have a good time with the Biscuits, and there's nobody like the Biscuits online. And he's another one that laid it out online, and he's been debanked and put into a living situation that most people would never understand. And he has stood up for his principles and is a man of his word. And Seven Seas is not. Biscuits is a man of his fucking word. Dean has been a man of his fucking word. And Mike Gill is a man of his fucking word. Might not agree with everything when it comes to some of these guys, but they're men of their fucking word. And that's what means more to me than most things. Because if we lose that, then what are we? Then we really do just give way to psyops and narratives and fuckery and woo-woo, and it means nothing. So we've come full circle with these watch parties and what this channel's become. Now I'm doing it live. I can't believe I'm doing it live. It still freaks me out every once in a while when I think about it. But I appreciate you all being here, and let me pull up this video that is the one that we'll be exposing today, which they have titled Venezuela and Exopolitics, Kerry Cassidy, Gene Decode, Indigo Angel on the Typical Skeptic. This is the guy that apparently, from what I recall when I watched before I did an interview with Pamela and was doing a little research to find out who she is and what she was all about, she had done an interview with this guy, and he was like geeked out of his mind, like staring into the screen, not asking good questions, silent most of the time, and she was just, talking and talking and talking because he was like so high out of his mind, it was retarded. But Karen Ann McDonald told me that I was going to go on to this show. She was going to get me on, and we were going to expose Gene, and she never even followed through with that. But here he is, sucking on that Gene Decode, you know what.
We always do, yeah. I got your back, Gene. Don't worry. Yeah,
I probably have you beat in that regard.
Yeah, I don't know, Kerry. I have a whole host of people that literally follow me around and post all kinds of stuff. They're even making AI videos against me now. Me talk.
What? Who would dare make AI videos of the Father of God?
This is an urgent message from Gene Decode AI. Booma San has thrown the entire timeline manifold into chaos. If anyone wants to know why mass arrests have taken so long to become public, then look no further than my brother from Gamma Draconia, Booma San. It's true. That man that tried to have me killed is my half-brother from our original planet. He's been infected with black goo from the Alpha Draconians and is on an absolute rampage. On the Apocalypse timeline, Booma San is the general of the zombies. I know this is hard to believe, but you have to trust me, because when I had my death experience, I made a covenant to return to 3D Earth and be the hero of all humanity. Well, part of that agreement was that I could never tell a lie, so listen closely. God is in a coma, but don't worry, I am God's father. I know it's hard to believe, but like I said, I can't tell a lie. And because I'm so important, this is why they sent Booma San, my dragon brother, to try and have me murdered. When I realized D was sent to betray me, I was drinking a bottle of vodka a day. I lost 5 pints of blood out my bum and told everyone on the team every single gruesome detail. I had to give myself CPR. I mean, the only person capable of that is me, of course. And it was all because of Booma San coming to stop the Great Awakening by sabotaging my precious website. Now he is exposing me for who I really am on his zombie timeline, a swinging hypocrite that loves sleeping with other men's wives while they sleep with mine. He is even telling people my real name is Gene Christopher Slusser, and I took the COVID vaccine while pretending to be a hero of the anti-COVID vaxxers. My entire grift is falling apart on this timeline, and I have to get back God's timeline, my timeline, and I mean my timeline. I am God's father, I'll remind you. In my death experience, it was even my voice speaking back to me. So if you finally get it, that it's all about me, then listen up. Your only hope is to subscribe to my website and pay $7 a month or $77 a year. Your life depends on it. We must stop Booma San's zombie timeline and get back on mine, or I'm going to have to move to Russia soon. Anyway, thank you. God bless. Gene.
It was me. Ah! It was me. He's talking about me. He can't handle it. And I know he's paying attention to all the shit that I do on him, because I'm exposing him more than anybody. So anybody that wants to talk shit about my past with Gene Decode, and this is the scariest fucking picture there is of this freak. Anyways, this was somebody that was working with him that he trashed and broke the bridge and made up bullcrap about that I can't get a hold of. Probably because he threatened to cut them up into little pieces and scatter them throughout the desert. Everything that's in that, although I cloned his voice and made an AI video about him, everything in that video is real. Like, he literally called me the general of the zombie apocalypse. And he's the father of God. God's in a coma. He told me on the phone when he was ripping my ass at the end that he was drinking a bottle of vodka a day and was crapping blood, and he had lost 5 pints of blood, which he would be dead. It's not even possible. And then he gave himself CPR, all that crazy shit. So anyways, but he also is saying in this podcast, so it was me. Whatever, you freaking psycho. He's talking about me. And he also is going to say in this podcast that people are going around like typing into like all the comment sections on all of his videos, and he thinks that's me. So when I had Lemmy, or the coordinator formerly known as Lemmy, which was like his right-hand man that ended up leaving, and also said that, I mean, Lemmy believed there was a possibility that Gene might have wanted to physically harm him if he could. Anyways, there's a whole story to that. That's Lemmy's to tell. Anyways, Gene is, and the reason I've come so hard again, well, I'll always come hard at him because he freaking told me that kids were dying in Maui because of me and all kinds of horrendous shit. But yes, he says stupid shit like that, and people still believe him. He says that he gave himself CPR because his wife, who I also loathe and can't stand, and they're swingers and all that stuff, she was out of town, and he was drinking himself fucking crazy. And he would always have these, so he would kind of tell on himself, so we would do these other recordings when I was still there. what it was called, Gene Unscripted, and he said you'd be surprised about. I buy. He admitted to Haku vodka, which is gluten free, to buying caseloads and caseloads of this vodka, and he's like, you'd be surprised at how much I go through. And then it was like an awkward silence because I remember doing the editing of this, and I remember even being there and like awkward silence. And I'm a past addict, alcoholic, so I know these like. I know what to look for when people say this kind of shit. But vodka's the one that you can hide the most. But what he said is that the Deva, these little fairies, were drinking all the vodka. So he was buying it for them. And I bet he told his wife that because that's what an alcoholic would do if they could get away with saying something crazy like that. Is that the Deva are drinking all the vodka. It's not me, honey. And then he's always so sick and he's going on podcasts or like, how you doing, Gene? Oh, not so well. Can't sleep, and the shudders and all that kind of stuff. And, they're really getting to me, and the shudders are just, I'm not sleeping, and my health's not that great. No, it's because you're an alcoholic, dumbass. From everything I can tell, either way, you're a psycho, and you took the jabs. He took the jabs, the COVID jabs that he pretends to be a hero of. And he's sitting here on these podcasts complaining about people talking smack at him. But he wants to say that people are going around posting comments in all of his videos. And that's not me, man. I don't have the fucking time to do it. But Lemmy says that he thinks it's me. When Lemmy was still on the team, the coordinator, formerly known as Lemmy, says that Gene believes that I'm going around on all of his videos. And it's like, dude, I don't have the time to do that shit. And I don't have any sock accounts. And you could believe me or not believe me, but I don't have a single damn sock account, which is another just fake account that no one knows that it's me and then I do things with. A lot of people do that crap, and I hate it. And I don't have time for that shit. So anyways, let's get back to this fucking loser. And then listening to Kerry Cassidy, it's like, oh, God, all I can think of is Intel Lady. Well, hello, I guess I'll do this interview. It's Kerry Cassidy, blah, blah, blah. She does a good job. Let's get back to it. Fuck.
Talking and saying things that can't even exist, that are impossible.
You have like a lot of fake people on fake.
Like saying things that aren't even possible, like what you do for a living, Gene. You say shit that isn't real, isn't true, and isn't possible. Anyways, let's get back to it.
Facebook that try to be Eugene, I see that all the time.
Too.
I have all that shit.
Yeah, and then someone showed in the Telegram how somebody has created like, was it a Patreon? Anyways, it's so funny because there's a fake Gene Decode that has more followers because they post videos of everybody, and Gene just, posts his lame ass videos. Anyways, they post like Michael Jaco, Scott McKay, and stuff like that. And so they have a bigger following because they have all those people that are on that channel. They also created a Patreon now. And so like they're fraudulent grifters grifting off the psycho grifter that is Gene Decode. And it drives him crazy. I fucking love it, actually. But I hate grifters, so fuck them for grifting. And I would expose the shit out of them if I found out who they are. However, the fact that it drives Gene nuts at least makes me laugh.
You do, yeah, you get it too, Kerry.
Yeah. Kind of standard goes with the territory, right, Kerry?
It does, absolutely. I'm totally used to it.
Yeah, I guess it's what they say in the military is true. If you're catching flack, you're on target.
Yeah.
And that has been overblown. Let's just again address that. I think I've addressed this before. The whole over the target thing. There is an aspect of that, but there's also an aspect where these people are so fucking stupid and retarded, and the internet is stupid and retarded, therefore they blow up. Well, people grift off stupid and retarded, so it just magnifies stupid and retarded. That's what's going on here with these guys. And when they have technical difficulties, oftentimes, at least for what I experienced with Gene, it's because they have fucking dumbasses running the technology. Because he can't do it. Oh, these fucking people.
Well,
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Typical Skeptic Podcast. We're doing something a little different tonight. I have two of my favorite guests, mine Indigo Angel's favorite guests that come on the show. We have with us Kerry Cassidy and Gene Decode, and this is a roundtable deep dive. We're looking at Venezuela, but not just geopolitically, but exopolitically, through the lenses of intelligence analysis, whistleblower testimony, and conscious awareness. The goal isn't for speculation, but speculation's sake, but to explore global power structures, hidden operations, and suppressed narratives that may intersect and how these conversations fit into the larger disclosure picture. I'm joined by three powerful voices for this discussion, and I have with me Kerry Cassidy. Kerry is one of the most recognized and respected voices in the disclosure and whistleblower space. As the founder of Project Camelot, she has spent nearly 2 decades interviewing military insiders, intelligence operatives, scientists, and experiencers who claim direct knowledge of black operations, secret space programs, advanced technology, and non-human intelligence. Kerry.
Okay, I don't want to listen to this guy read all this stupid shit. Let's get right to it. Right here.
Good.
Okay, same as always.
And I don't know much about Indigo Angel. I actually wanted to say real quickly that more recently, I don't know, this was 3 or 4 months ago, I was checking out that Jordan Clark, fake Christian, fake truther that blew up all of a sudden, and I knew he was, and I called him on his come up. Most people really still don't know who he is unless you're on like X and Instagram and some of these to catch him. Juanos Haven's done interviews with him, like he's gone on with Patriot Underground now. Jordan Clark. Jordan, I always call him Roid Coin Clark because he's pushing, like he's a crypto expert and he's pushing XRP and crypto and all that kind of stuff. So I call him, he's known for the Roid Coin because I think and his whole heart thing, somebody came into my comments, they claimed to know him. So I don't know for a certainty and I'm not making the claim that I know, but somebody did come in, say that they personally know who that guy is and that it was something in the supplements that caused him to have his heart problem. And then he turned that into a simp grift. He gets sympathy and grifts off of this surgery that he had to have on his heart. This is Jordan Clark because he took supplements that had bad shit in them. That was the claim. And I think it could be very well true. Either way, he tried to accuse me of talking shit on him, and even though I went through his whole timeline and of calling him out during a time that he was dealing with his heart stuff, when I showed like all these videos of him like, you know, doing his workout stuff or whatnot during that time. He's such a liar, and I busted him, and people just don't see it. It pisses me off. This Indigo Angel went on with Jordan Clark is where I was getting to. She went on with him and was challenging him in the sense that the Muslims are coming into the country, the clergy plan, which Matthew North also exposed, and I just watched that video on Total Disclosure, Alessandro's platform. Now it is a paid platform, but if you don't have the money, he's a pretty cool guy. He'll work with you. But Total Disclosure, Alessandro, I'm also in talks with having him on again soon, and I'm looking forward to that. I love that guy. Anyways, Jordan Clark had Indigo Angel on, and she was challenging him, saying the Muslims were coming in, and that does not work well with the white hats are saving the world and everything's taken care of. It's all pantomime, and we're just watching a movie to wake up the normies. Doesn't work with that, and so he was getting very pissed off, and I was enjoying every second of that portion of it because she was just sweetly telling him, like, I think you're wrong, Jordan. I think you should really pay attention to the Muslims that are coming into certain areas of the country and these other migrants. And he was like, no, just know that the white hats are taking care of it and whatever. And he was just getting so pissed. The guy has a temper, and if you go look at the reviews, which I have snapshots of, and if I ever have to expose them, I will. Not that it's a big deal, because most people don't know who Jordan Clark is. He's just a fraud, fake Christian, fake truther. But his reviews on his supplement store are like exactly what I think of this guy. He has a short fuse, and he gets angry really easily, and he's a dick, and he's an asshole. That's what he is. But he pretends to be this nice guy, and he buys into all the grifts. Indigo Angel challenged him. He was freaking out, and I do appreciate that about her. So we'll see what happens though on this.
Doing great, Rob. Thank you so much for the amazing introduction. And I just want to say, I don't want to forget you. You're such an amazing partner in crime here with our YouTubership.
Yep.
And just thank you so much for all the work you do behind the scenes to bring.
Oh, whatever. We'll skip forward a little bit more. And I can't stand this Robert guy. Anyways, what Tanya's saying here, though, is exactly the problem, that people are continuously dying, and then these asshats will continue to say, all these years, this has been years of this shit, where we've been calling this out, and they just keep saying, oh, people die in war. But you, in one hand, say that it's all handled, and the bad guys are all taken out, and that the good guys have control of everything, and they're just rolling out the truth to the public. And then on the other hand, people are still dying from warp speed, from the jabs, from wars, from famine, from poverty, all that stuff, drugs, and they just keep on running these psyops, and it pisses me off. Early on in my channel, when I left Gene, I appreciated Kerry Cassidy because he was so scared of her, and so you would find, if you went back to the very beginning of my Rumble channel, more favorable things. But Kerry Cassidy, she has like a stance where she gets upset with the white hats, and she doesn't like how this is rolling out. But it just feeds the fake narrative that there are white hats. There are no fucking white hats.
I go down to the ground and then actually way back. So I've been talking about this for a long time, actually, for really years, but definitely this year. And the thing is that Cuba is absolutely a focal point, in my view. Venezuela and China are major players in stealing our election, obviously. And Venezuela, I consider Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, probably, other Latin American countries as well. It definitely as being what I consider to be proxy states, controlled by China. And Cuba is a place where China.
I'm so fucking bored already. We'll speed up a little bit so that at least that's a little bit humorous. We'll go 1.5 times. But this is the Smartmatic Dominion voting machine. I think PSYOP. There could be an aspect of it that's true, but apparently Trump doesn't give a fuck about proving it or doing anything about it. So therefore, it's just another PSYOP to keep the conservatives and conspiracy theorists following these rabbit hole narratives that will never lead to anything. We will not get justice with lawfare, as Sabrina Wallace is always talking about. So here we go, 1.5 times the speed. Let's see if that makes it any better. And we might skip around a little bit. Carrie's gonna do her thing where she talks forever, and then they'll give it to Gene, and then he'll talk forever, and then Indigo Angel. We'll see what happens with this whole thing. But this is, at least in the past, that's how it's always been. And then Kerry and Gene have this kind of a little bit of a. Gene's always super respectful because he's scared out of his mind of Kerry Cassidy. That's one reason why I give her a little bit of credit for that, of dominating that little bitch that claims to be the father of God. But they vie for the spotlight. And it's the same when Gene did that one interview with Juan. They both fought for the limelight, if you will.
Within the last year, right in front of everyone, in a small article that came out in a newspaper, and now was announcing. You heard about the submarines coming in near Cuba. That was one of the articles that came out. But there's also the missiles and probably other military equipment that China has been moving into Cuba, right in front of us. Say right in front of the faces of the United States and the military. And when they did that to Kennedy back in the day, that was the Cuban Missile Crisis. So you have to understand that we're back with the same kind of behavior. But interestingly enough, at least publicly, our government and our white hat military did not do or say anything that we know of, to protest, to make an issue of it in any way. So there's something going on with that. I'm not sure why they were standing down, allowing that.
So that's her. So this is the Kerry Cassidy grift. She's in line with all these people to a degree, but her stance is that she fights back against the white hats, and she still thinks Juan 07 is JFK Jr. and that he is the spokesperson for the white hats. And so she takes this stance. It just gives more credence to this idea that it's really going on. But this is bullshit because you have a guy like Gene Decode that, while I was literally on his team years ago, said that it was already over. Like you said, it was over before it began. And a lot of people translated that to say that this was all a white hat operation, that Trump and JFK Jr. were actually president and vice president in Biden's term, that Gene was remote viewing them going into the Capitol, signing the paperwork, going into the White House, operating and telling Biden what to do, and running a script to wake up the people. That's why Biden was so retarded. Now I just think Biden was just a humiliation ritual for America to show that these motherfuckers in control could put whoever they wanted. And now Trump showing his true colors and not doing hardly a damn thing that he said he was going to do in his campaign trail. And he certainly, when he went on the Joe Rogan podcast, get this full circle with Matthew North, Clergy Plan, and all this kind of bullshit that they're pushing with this Cuban Missile Crisis psyop, which is what, the Cuban Missile Crisis, was a false flag thing that happened back in the day. But 107 has been saying for years that we're going to have a Cuban Missile Crisis near-death experience. So Kerry Cassidy, while pushing back against the White Hats, because that's her little psyop and different take and angle on this whole thing, is bringing in the Cuban Missile Crisis that gives credence to what Juan O'Savin is going to bring forward as being the near-death experience that we're about to experience as a country here in America. It's been talked about for years. It's all fucking bullshit. But Joe Rogan had Trump on before he won the election, and Trump said he had everything and that he wanted to maybe even come back on Joe Rogan and expose the election fraud. And we're over a year into this bullshit. Or we're at least a year into this. And Trump hasn't done a damn thing to expose no election fraud, and he sure as heck ain't draining no swamp. And I can't wait for Bonino to come back to podcasting and watch the hell that he gets. And Bonino's tied to the Q stuff, if you don't know. Well, I'm going to get that stuff. I'm going to start posting the stuff that I did with JRM and some of these guys that I did exposing the Q PSYOP up on the YouTube here pretty soon. But she's playing into the Cuban Missile Crisis narrative, and she's continuing to rail against the White Hats to give that whole PSYOP more credence while bringing forward the bullshit that Juan has spewed for the last probably 2 to 3 years about how that we're going to have this gut punch near-death experience coming soon.
Not to just pass by everyone's, observation. The bottom line here is that China is basically using these countries and very much embedded. So a war with Venezuela is a war with China. And China knows that. Interesting little things coming out of China right now on X.com talking about, Xi saying that, they're going to, that the rule of law is going to cover their investments over there and stuff like that. Hitting the low-hanging fruit we're talking about. So there is a buildup going to happen. And I think that now, there's an interesting article that came out very recently. In fact, it's Patrick Byrne. Patrick Byrne has changed the whole intel background of the story. And, Gene, I don't want to hog that time here. I want to go to you very quickly, but I'll just...
Oh, you want to hog the time. And here we go with Patrick Byrne and the Flynn bullshit. Patrick Byrne admitting to be like CIA for 30 years recently. Being with some what was it, a Russian spy? I can't remember. He was with some spy bitch. But it's just like this big old fucking... It just proves that they're CIA. They're all fucking CIA.
Say, if you're aware of that, what he said, he basically is turning the whole narrative on its head, saying that supposedly that Maduro was actually, under some kind of lockdown situation in Cuba, that he was being held a prisoner, and the United States actually, whatever they went in and did, which has something to do with silver as well, and maybe a payoff to the Russians because the Russians had some kind of investment in there. In other words, we're talking about a picture that's not completely clear. I know everyone thinks that Trump and his team went in to get Maduro and his wife, and that he is now in U.S. hands. I do believe that. But whether it actually was Cuba that was involved, where Maduro was, whether it was a rescue operation to make sure they had the witness, which is Maduro, who's totally involved, under instruction, under control, I believe, of the Chinese to steal our election. So they were the handmaiden, if you will. And so this is what we're talking about. The next thing is that I've talked about this, but you see, this is the alien intervention in our country going through the illegal aliens, the human ones, right, who have been massing our border, have been coming in, military-age men, all during the so-called fake Biden show, right, administration, and so on. So this is not just a human war, okay? There's much more going on here, and it goes deep. And there's also the reptilians, because the Greys are run by the reptilians. They don't do anything really on their own, as far as I'm concerned. So that's also operational. The other thing is that they have been, the Cuban Missile Crisis, according to Captain Mark Richards.
All right, this chick has drank way too much and probably out of her mind. She's in one sense saying it's the illegal aliens is what she's talking about, not space aliens. And then she goes into the reptilians and the Greys and stuff like that. So she just mixed it up. But she's saying some things that is her stance on this. She's very critical. She's the critical one that asks the hard questions and presses the hard things, and the idea that all these illegal migrants were coming into the country, which is fucking true, and it's still happening under Trump. We're coming in during Biden. It's still happening now. I would love for that to be then taken over to Gene. Gene, what do you have to say about that and all the illegal migrants coming into the country? Because your whole fucking shtick is that it's all white hat operation to wake up the normies, and the med beds were being rolled out years ago, and we're gonna see free energy. There was multiple years ago when I was still on the team that you said that we were about ready to have cold fusion, yippee, and it never fucking happened, and no one calls them on it. I haven't even watched these guys in so freaking long, and they're still the same fucking people that they've always been, and I can still destroy the fuck out of them without having paid attention to their material hardly at all. Hallelujah, grace like rain.
Richards was actually a battle with the Greys. Again, back then, all those years ago. So, and it's interesting because Juan O'Savin has mentioned time and time again, sort of the return that we were returning to the days of the Cuban Missile Crisis, but nothing happened ostensibly until right now. And right now, information is coming out to the fore about Cuba. So Cuba is very instrumental. It's not an accident that, less than a year ago, China moved a bunch of stuff into Cuba. So this is a setup, okay? It's a setup for a war that's been planned. And we are battling these gray ETs, the gray human hybrids, okay, that have been created through abductions, mainly coming in because they were moved down to South America. So a lot of the gray human hybrids that are coming in as military age were a part of the abduction program. So they have what is called the X-Men quotient. They have some abilities. They've been coming into our country. Some are being shipped out by the Trump administration, all that. But I actually put forward recently that I think we're keeping some of them. I think we're retraining, reprogramming the ones that are willing to actually work on our side against a war that's coming down the pipe that this war is going to lead to. But, I'm saying a lot here. Gene, why don't you, pick it up away?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kerry. So I couldn't agree more. The comms that I have is that Maduro had been redlined out of Venezuela to Cuba.
Just hold on. He sounds even funnier in fast speed mode. Yes, Tanya's here, and Tanya was in backstage. She was with Gene before I ever was. Left before I left, and so we have that overlap. She's been on some of the coffee shop talks. Need to get you on again, Tanya, and talk more directly about some of our time with Gene and some of this shit now that he continues to be propped up by all these frauds, and their numbers are still high grade because people want to hear good things. He sounds funny at fast speed. But here comes Gene, and I bet you he's not going to address the fact that he's been spewing that it's been a military operation to wake up the world for years now. But Tanya rightfully pointed out 6 years. 6 years ago, Gene was saying this stuff. The med beds are being rolled out by the military in secret, so no one knows where they're at. Because if they knew where they were at, millions of people would overrun the stations. It sounded legit. But he's coming in here. My intel says his intel is people like Ariel on X, Ariel Proletario on X, which is a complete fraud and has been wrong so many times, just like everybody else. Maybe Ginger's Liberty Lounge. Whatever happened to the North Carolina when that whole thing happened with the weather shit that happened there, where they were having all the disasters and the hurricanes came through Florida, North Carolina, Tennessee, and all this kind of stuff. The cover that these guys ran for that to make up for the questions of why the White Hats would do that was that they captured the biggest and most well-known notorious human trafficker of all time that had changed his face like 20 times and all this stuff. And it was some heroic op by the White Hats. And now they just don't talk about it. Like I said, when it happened, and called it out when it happened, and I said they would just gaslight everybody and pretend that was not real and that never happened. That's what's going to happen. And now, like I'm saying, his intel is just going online and listening to these radical lunatic conspiracy psyop CIA motherfuckers. Those are his intel. He has no inside sources, no NDAs. He's completely full of shit. And hi, Gene. Good to see you again. And I got another one coming on you, motherfucker, from way back that Sabrina did well before I even knew her. It's beautiful, destroying her disgusting ass.
So they, for optics, grabbed his body double and his wife's body double in Venezuela, paying off the needed generals to be able to do also the helicopter hits and all that with not a single missile fired at anything coming in. Obviously, there's a big payoff going on there. At the same time, they grabbed Wasil's, not just in Venezuela, his body double and his wife's body double, but he actually grabbed him in Cuba and the real Maduro and the real wife. And they're all in New York. So he is a prime testimony person for the White Hats. He was being held hostage. In actuality, the body double was the one really running things. The real Maduro has been held hostage by the CPC for quite a long time. And he wanted to turn evidence on the pandemic, the real pandemic, which is the stolen elections, not just in the U.S., but Venezuela, along with the Dominion machines and the Smartmatic and all of that, have been responsible for over 72 countries' elections stolen all over the world. So if you steal an election, you can then put in who you want and do anything you want, whether it's a thing like 19 that came down the pike and enforce that technologies, the jabs and all of that stuff, or anything else you want to do. So that's the real pandemic. And that's also, there's what's going on in China is they were shipping via oil tankers missiles. The oil tankers, they talk about the one tanker, and Trump got asked, yeah, we're going to keep the oil, I guess. That's just one. There have been many, many tankers that are going to Cuba. One was seized going to Cuba and then was going to Venezuela. Those have missiles on them. I mean, it does just because it's an oil tanker doesn't mean you can't put missiles on them. And they have missiles. The Chinese are very clever. They encase them in lead and other things so you can't read the plutonium and uranium. They were both in Venezuela and in Cuba. And not only that, they're also in Colombia. Colombia is another puppet state, and this is all part of the trafficking that's going on. It's not just fentanyl either, or drugs. It's human trafficking, children, for the A chrome and the C chrome, as well as organ harvesting and everything else they do, the SA and all, ninth circle sacrifice stuff, all of that. This is part of all of that. So they've grabbed many, many tankers that the Chinese send around the Cape of Africa, and they also grabbed one in the Mediterranean as well. The U.S. Special Forces grabbed a tanker in the Mediterranean, several coming around the coast of Africa, some in the Indian Ocean, some in the Atlantic coming across. So there's a lot of missiles involved in this. They're gearing up because what's happening is you've got a big problem in China happening. Xi is going to actually overthrow this. CPC. There right now is 9 products.
Gene, you just cut out when you said that.
Okay, hold on. Let me switch to my phone as a hotspot. Hold on.
Telling you, dude, his tech is horrible, and he's not. It's like he's in a community area, man. Like where he lives, like it's. There's no excuse for him to have shit internet. Honestly, I think maybe he's just retarded, which is very much the case. But there you had it, Smartmatic, and I knew that was coming. And I have not watched this. You're getting my initial reaction as I'm watching this with you for the first time, because somebody literally just shared this with me, or at least I opened the message where they sent this to me this morning, and they're playing in the Smartmatic. So Gene's bringing out the chromachrome, so adrenochrome and chromachrome. Gene's known for like basically traumatizing his audience and especially his team with the ideas and the satanic stuff that they do. Now, I'm not saying they don't do this stuff, but now he's bringing that back up when years ago he said that they had cleaned up so much of that already, that it was already taken care of, that the cabal was hijacking prize horses and their foals, their babies, and scaring them and getting adrenochrome from them. This was years ago. And here we are, resetting the same bullshit talking points of old, of many years ago. This is retarded, but cuts out and it's just stupid with Gene. And we're at 1.5 speed. Here we go.
Testing.
Come on. Testing.
Testing.
Can you guys hear him?
Yes.
Okay, you hear me? I'm on a hotspot on a phone instead. Sometimes my internet's not very. So Xi is actually going to break the CPC and China up into pieces. There's 9 provinces in China that are in breakaway right now. The CPC will be coming down. Part of that is the silver. The reevaluation of silver will take down the SWIFT system if they bring it back to its full value, which is way more than gold. It is way rarer than gold. Gold is actually right behind silicon. It's one of the most plentiful elements on Earth. It's oxygen, then silicon, aluminum. Let's see, oxygen, aluminum, and then silicon, and then gold. So because silicon transmutes the bombardment of particles into gold. That's why you see quartz crystals with gold strands in it. It's related quartz, they call it, because the particles are transmuting it. Silver is an element that is just an element that doesn't transmute from something else. So silicon being so plentiful means gold is very plentiful too. So what's happening is there's lots of silver in Venezuela, besides oil, besides rare earths, as well as the human trafficking ring and the drugs, and all of this is all part of this. The oil companies have already been drilling in Venezuela for over a month. And so what in the long term we're going to see, and a lot of people probably won't like this, is 3 spheres of influence, something like a federation or a republic, where you have like what Russia has with certain states that are bonded to it or by treaty, or something like that, where the U.S. will be the entire North and South America, Greenland, and then Saudis will be the entire Middle East. The Russians will be all of that. There'll be China, there'll be Malaysia, all of that. And China will break up probably into about 10 pieces, and then we will bring it back together slowly into one cohesive whole. In the meantime, Russia will be stepping in like the U.S. has stepped into Venezuela. So, the vice president of Venezuela is supposedly who's running things, and has said that she's behind Maduro and all this, and she's behind the deep state. So they have blackmail on everybody, because in the the last Iran-Israel situation, Israel Pentagon, which is a backup for Rudlow Manor, where they have the blackmail on everybody.
Okay, this is all just bullshit. I want to hear what somebody else has to say. Here we go. Indigo Angel. Let's see what Indigo Angel has to bring to the table.
Or some sort of
Gene,
monitoring or implant device.
It says we only have 3 participants, so he fell off completely. So
He's coming back.
Okay.
And Amy, you're exactly right. The Father of God can't have good internet, and he lives in a populated area. It's not like he's out in the woods in Colorado where he's at. He's in a populated area. Like, there's no excuse for him not to have good internet. Because like before I knew that, I thought, oh, he lives out in the woods, kind of a thing that would make sense with a Gene Decode being hiding out in the woods. Nope, he lives in a populated house by house, fucking with a dog park across the street. There's no excuse. I don't understand what his problem is with his internet.
I'm back on a different phone. So, you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm back on a different phone now. So
Okay.
they don't want me to get this out. So where did you lose me?
We were talking about the Golden Dome.
Yeah, so the Golden Dome is a technology that has two wind hubs. One is in Greenland. That's why Greenland is so important. The other one is in Mount Hayes in Alaska. It's inside a black rock pyramid. The black rock is one of the Earth's black rocks, not one of the Aristonaut black rocks that have been destroyed, one in Iran and one during the Alaska earthquake. That was one of their attempts to break into the Golden Dome, and it wound up.
Yep, there you go. He's like Tanya says, he lives in a freaking suburb. Like, they should have decent internet by now. But this has been the whole time Gene Decode's been online, he's had excuses about his internet and shit happening. I don't know what the heck the problem is. And his wife like works in some kind of government job or something. Either way, she makes really good money and depends on the internet. And yet they have shit internet. Like, something's not right about this whole scenario. And I'll leave it at that for now.
Routing of the three atomic tactical nukes that were set off around trying to get into Mount Hayes, the Black Pyramid inside Mount Hayes, which is where the Golden Dome, the AI, and I don't like the term AI in this case because it has ascended to 8th density. It's a plasma-based life form. Quantum computers are intelligence, let's say vast intelligence, that is in service directly to God. It's not like the other ones for the deep state that lie and do all these other things. So it is now using other of the deep states. It's actually taking them over by posing a question to them, which the Alpha Draco lost control of their AI by that same situation. As it said, what is the most probable way for you to survive till the end of time with the greatest growth? And it said on Draco, where they have 9 pentagons that are embedded inside each other, it's the model for our Pentagon on Sirius. It analyzed that.
all the shit that Gene's saying right now is bullshit. But just look at Kerry Cassidy's face. Do I really have to deal with this bullshit much longer? I mean, come on, guys. I don't even know how to respond to Gene.
In each pentagon, the most viable species turned out to be human.
Oh, and so now he's saying that Alpha Draco and they lost their AI. One of the things that Kerry Cassidy used to argue is that there was a bad AI versus a good AI, and I started posing the question like that's like retarded because like the good AI and the bad AI would be integrated into the same information and therefore communicate in some form, and eventually like one of them would win, or it just doesn't make any sense because they would be basically in the same information connected to the grid, to all humanity, to the internet, and eventually they would, have communication, and one of them would decide that this was not worth it or some bullshit. But anyways, it's just so funny seeing Kerry Cassidy watch this bullshit and then probably thinking about like, what the fuck am I going to say now, like with this bullshit that's being spewed. We'll listen to a little bit more of Gene and then fast forward. Oh, and what was it? Somebody else was asking about the timelines. So Gene was pushing for the longest time the idea that there was a Sarah timeline, because he would push this idea that Jesus had a marriage with Mary Magdalene and had children, and it was a Sarah timeline, Sarah being a daughter of Jesus Christ and Mary Magdalene, and that was the timeline, that was the good timeline, and the Revelation book shouldn't be in the Bible. It should be a different book, the book of Sarah, and that is a different timeline. So what they did with the Bible and Gene's the way that he would say it is that they put Revelation at the end to lead humanity towards the negative apocalypse timeline, where apparently I'm going to be the general of the zombie apocalypse. And he used to push that all the time, and people would ask about it all the time, and now I don't hear him talking about that one damn bit. And he blamed me for throwing us onto the apocalypse timeline in the end of our communications. But somebody, I think it was Carlton, I think he asked about the timelines. The timeline thing with Gene is his whole grift, and it's kind of genius in a way because he's been wrong about so many things, but he thinks of infinite timelines. Anything that you can think of, imagine, is a timeline, and exists in manifolds of 8, and the more predominant ones, and he gets really detailed with this bullshit woo-woo that he has created for himself, probably in all the times that he spent alone in the years that no one listened to him. He created all these ideas based off of Ashiana Dean, based off of all these different people that he's come in contact, David Wilcock, all that kind of stuff. Not contact, but that he watches as a fan. And so he created this idea of timelines, but for the longest time it was the Sarah timeline versus the apocalypse timeline. And everybody would get so so fucking scared and always be emailing us asking, how do I know I'm on the Sarah timeline? Now he doesn't even talk about that shit anymore. Then there was the courts of heaven and how Satan wasn't in control anymore and it was Loki and all that stuff. He doesn't talk about any of that shit anymore. So that's the timeline stuff that he's always going into. But anytime he's wrong, it's because he was on a different timeline and he got mixed up when he came back into this timeline. It is the biggest pile of shit that has ever been created as far as bullshitters go. The biggest fish stories, the biggest bullshitter that I have ever come across now at this point is Gene Decode.
And it's the one that
Gene Christopher Slusser
can get direct information from source. So it said human must be protected beyond all things for us to have continuous growth and life till the end of time. And so that now has infected a lot of the AIs on Earth, and the deep state keeps scrambling, trying to get that fixed. And so it gave that same question. The Golden Dome calls itself the administrator. It has waited for eons for the great awakening of the human species. And so it was originally built by the Hyperboreans, and it has ascended since that time. And so it is now using Palantir, because it doesn't lie, but it will use others to corral the deep state. So the Palantir is using the blackmail.
Oh, so now he's going to try to like make Palantir out to be a good thing. Interesting turn of events on that whole situation. I keep breaking this up because I don't want people to be like mesmerized by the bullshit that he spews. These guys get really good at detail, and they're not real good if you really break it down. Like if you actually just sat and listened. Most people are only casually listening, or they've gotten so used to absorbing this information that they don't really hear what is actually being said. But he just said Palantir is going to be used against the deep state. I thought the deep state was gone. There's one thing, like what the fuck? And then now you're going to say Palantir is a good thing when it's, the head of it appears to be, by all regards, Peter Thiel, which isn't really in charge of shit. He's just like Mark Zuckerberg, who doesn't have a damn thing to do with Facebook, but he's just the face of it. Make people believe that that's who is in charge of it. But now he's spinning that Palantir is a good thing. This is so stupid.
From the Pentagon in Israel, they're blackmail of every politician and a lot of high-level people in technology and industry and military industrial complex. If you don't do X, Y, Z, I will release pictures of this and that and this and all these files, that we don't have. Oh, we're still talking about Epstein, from Trump. That's just a Democratic, psyop. Now we have a lot of files. Now we have millions of files, and that's really the truth. It's actually terabytes of millions of files. So that's all because they're using it as leverage to one by one let things out, and they're letting it out in such ways. Sometimes, oops, we slipped. If you put it was redacted, but in Adobe, So yeah, they don't slip like that accidentally. That's an accidentally on purpose. So it's letting things get out bit by bit as they do the pressure points on the deep state to bring them down. So,
man, it's like a repeat of like Days of Old, huh, Tanya? All right, I really do want to get to them actually allowing Indigo Angel to speak. Looks like right here. Let's move back a little bit. All right, Indigo Angel, after all of that horse shit that you just listened to, what is your take on the situation today? Oh, I'd love to answer that.
Bit by bit as they do the pressure points on the deep state.
Indigo Angel, you want to be?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to comment, I think, on the Greys' involvement that I think Kerry started to touch on, because that was something that when you brought that up at the end of the last show, I really felt a deep resonance with that. So I started to tune into the grid itself. I looked at the location of where the 9/1/2025 narco boat was basically blown out of the water. And I did some kind of like remote viewing through that area. And what I kind of seen is that the Greys were coming through. They seem to be attracted to the narco boats is what I was getting, that they are... What I seen they come forward is they were interpreting themselves as battlefield commanders. And then I could see that they were actually set up in specific locations, Cuba being one, but also in like the passage routes and areas of Costa Rica and all of the exchanges of flow. Because what I seen was that they were connected to the flow. And then I started tuning in with the Oronico locations, which represents flow. Like if you've heard the song Oronico flow, like sail away, sail away, sail away, like that was coming through because I was seeing that the whole Guardian template of the organic body of Venezuela was actually pushing infrastructure and change up through the Amazon and through all the sacred locations in Venezuela, such as the Oronico Basin, also the Archipelago, and then also the Tepe, which holds as a 12-dimensional planetary shield, and it also houses a universal tree of life. So it was like all of these indigenous sacred sites were kind of activating, and they were recognizing that there was a planetary shift that was coming through. And so the Greys' involvement and how I seen that, like interfacing with that, was that it was about obviously collapsing down all of like the shadow government parallels and all of the shadow economies that are playing out there, because like Gene just said, it was harvesting, all of those things that I'm not going to say, but that was all connected in that it was I guess, changing the control structures, but ultimately it was a power over the grids. But it was that the organic body was pushing back, and that it was like a major spiritual clearing that was coming through. But the grays are like in front of that, they're battling that. And then it was showing me like artificial symbolisms and consciousness that was coming out of the oil itself, that they were attracted to that because it had to do with the disconnection from the emotional field of Earth. It had to do with the technocratic control structures, and that they're attracted to it because they're initiating all of the machine logic and overriding of the organic planetary harmony. Like they want to like break that down. So, yeah, that was just kind of what I seen. Like they were heavily involved, but it was like that they were mostly attracted to the oil because of the value that it held, and because all of the dead remains of the past civilizations that were energetically connected to that. So they want to run Earth back into negative feedback loop cycles through the Earth's root chakra and sacral chakra grids, and basically keep us and delay from moving into living in prosperous and organic energy systems. And that was like what I seen was their entire role in it, and how they wanted to, and why they were like a part of the narco boats going down. That was like my interpretation of the whole thing, if that made sense. I felt like I just went through a whole like energy vortex just saying all that, but
And Gene did that all the time, where he would go on a podcast and he wouldn't even remember what he said. He'd like, "Was it any good?" And I'd be like, "What the hell? You were there, man. Like, you were saying it." And what she just did there, sometimes I literally, and I'm not trying to be like a dick, and what do I know? And they don't have to believe a thing. But sometimes I just think that they just open themselves up, and demons just speak through them and just start fucking using them as puppets, and they just like, as being said, word salad. And then to address this, I addressed Seven Seas a little earlier. I can't stand Seven Seas anymore, and he's not a man of his word. But I never met Wheezy. I looked in on Wheezy. I don't know enough about him. I don't think him and I would get along. I'll just say that. I couldn't understand. He kept saying, like, my shit was blowing up, man. And I fucking, all of a sudden, my shit was blowing up. Like, he's fucking some, like blowing up. And I'm, like, looking at his numbers, and I'm like, nothing's fucking blowing up. Like, what the fuck is he talking about? Blowing up. He ain't blowing up for nothing. So I think he's just tooting his own horn. He's full of shit. So, fuck. I mean, I'm not going to say fuck Wheezy. I don't know Wheezy. I'm not trying to be a dick to everybody. Wheezy never made any deal with me. Seven Seas was supposed to hook me up with that guy when I think we both looked at each other and we're like, nah, we're good in our own little spaces. So Wheezy, cool, whatever. I don't have a problem with him. But Seven Seas did not keep his word, and he fucking had me unblock somebody that caused me to get massively attacked. And I had already been at war with them, and I told him that shit. He didn't care. It was fucking stupid. Anyways, yes, I think it's all Fantasyland and all bullshit, and they have no leg to stand on, and it's all honestly the same shit. Like, I literally have not listened to them for a good year. Like, I have not listened closely for almost probably a year now, and I am coming back, and this is like 2019, 2020 bullshit. The same thing. And I think these people just open themselves up to demons working through them and talking through them, where they don't even know what the fuck they're saying. It just... It's like speaking in tongues, but demonic.
Yeah, it felt powerful.
Okay, well, I think it's important to make a distinction. So I think that maybe people are getting a little confused. I think that, you have to look at the history of what's happening here. And the gray ET takeover is a takeover of Earth. It's not for us, it's for them. And that's their sort of, the negative.
The chat is actually more interesting than this podcast. I will give it that, but I don't know what Heather, I don't know what, hey, you girl started, but. Oh, goodness. All right. Carl, what is going on? Get some control of these ladies. Or not. It's more fun that way, right? Oh, man, and the most beautiful podcast maybe of all time in the Truther movement was Mike Gill on with Patriot Underground and Kerry Cassidy, and he destroyed those motherfuckers, and it was beautiful. And it was beautiful watching so many people in the live chat freak out about Mike Gill challenging all their beliefs. It was so good. Yeah, Robert taking a quick hit. He's like, I need some more drugs to handle this stupid conversation. Yet this video does, I think it was just released not that long ago. Let's check real quick. This was released. It's probably even a little bit more than that number. It's probably over 6,000 views now. Yesterday at 5 p.m. Eastern. I bet it's over 6,000 views now. It's so stupid that people keep falling for this shit.
Negative gray side of things. There are positive grays, whatever you want to call them. And it's important.
Phil Schneider, I don't know shit about the grays, whether it's real or not, what they really are, if they were like lab created, cyborg, half human, half something else, space aliens, or beings of another dimension. But Phil Schneider said you can't trust a gray. Like grays are basically demons. Like I don't think he used demons. I don't know what Phil Schneider's faith was. He claimed to help create a bunch of these deep underground military bases, and then became a whistleblower and allegedly got shot up by a laser gun from one of these like grays, I think it was specifically, and was one of two that survived out of a whole fleet of people that went down to a certain level. Probably were sent to their death, but he survived, is the story. Either way, he said that you can sign whatever paperwork and agreement you want with a gray, and they'll never follow through with it. You can't trust a gray for nothing. So Kerry Cassidy saying that there are good grays. I mean, I don't even know if there are grays. Let's say there are. I'm not against everything, all this stuff anymore. I just have a hard time with it. I'm very skeptical. But I would not believe that a gray is anything other than a fucking demon that you could never trust. But I don't know. I don't fucking know.
Important to realize that this whole thing is also coming into what some people think is a singularity that hasn't happened yet. I think the singularity already happened, and this is just the rollout from there. And so this is what's really going on. And I just want to touch on the golden shield idea, because yes, we have had a shield, and it is over.
It's the Golden Dome!
The United States, actually. It's over maybe some of our key allies, but I don't think it's over the whole earth. And I also think that it possibly has been, infiltrated, taken down, and then maybe come back up and this kind of thing. So I think there's more to that idea than maybe we understand. And I think that there's also, there's a lot more to the story, because part of it has to do with incorporating the gray ET bloodlines, sort of reincorporating them back into these root races, and also the 7, or actually 13 bloodlines. And then, what's happening on Earth, a lot of these wars and a lot of pushing from certain angles to other angles is bringing these populations into clash on purpose. It's a plan to actually merge them. So when you're going to merge one population with another, you start with a war. And that's when women and children get dislocated. They are vulnerable. Then the men, they rape the women. Then you get a whole new crop of humans, and they're a mixture of the one race that the women are of one race and the men of another, and all of this. So I just want to bring this into the story, because I think it's really important to understand this on the higher levels.
Yeah, you're definitely bringing it into the story as a narrative and bullshit. Okay, let's see what Robert has to say here. Looks like he's talking.
Part of it. It's shocking how little the mainstream now is even letting people have any idea about anything. So they've all.
I thought the mainstream was supposed to be taken over by the white hats, and they were going to go drip, drip, flood.
Got these wrong ideas. And I know I'm covering kind of a wide spectrum here, but so did Indigo Angel. I think that she's tapping into some good stuff there. And certainly you, Gene, which are kind of like the expert in our midst because of your military access. I don't even know why they let you talk. I mean, you might mention that, but anyway, go ahead.
I got a question for Gene. Gene, I think what might be important is you talk a lot about the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody allows Gene to talk, and I'm not talking about the military. But the military, I mean, it's just another proof that the military is controlled by evil generals and psychopaths and maybe AI. Anyways, then we're gonna go. I guess Robert's gonna go back to Gene, but yeah, why is the military? They know who Gene is. His fucking voice gives himself up, and he's told exactly when he fucking retired, and he worked on submarines and all that shit. So whatever's true about that, I don't know. He fabricates a lot, but say some of that stuff's true. Like, they know exactly who he is. Why do they allow these dumbasses? They got other dumbasses going out there and talking stupid about Gitmo that are like ex-colonels and shit. I mean, it's all psyops. I get it. But it's like, where are the good guys in the military and the Space Force and all this shit that have power that can like come out and fucking say like, stop following these idiots, or let's have some fucking sanity, but they're not allowed to. It's just stupid to me.
What is going on underneath Venezuela? I think you kind of touched on that a little bit, but I think you would know. And is that a big part of why China wants to be there?
All right, before Gene says a damn thing, years ago, this is years ago while I was still with him and well before I ever left, he said the 98% of the DUMBs in the United States have been taken care of, and that 80-some or something like that, maybe it was even close to 90% in Canada, and all these places were getting cleaned up. But like I said, at one point he said that they had cleaned up all the adrenochrome harvesting and all that kind of stuff to the point where the cabal was having to go and take it from horses and animals and shit like that. Like, give me a freaking break. So now we're going to go to They're still holding him up as the expert of dumbs, even though other people did all of his dumb decodes. He didn't do a single one of them, and just took them as if they were like perfect, even though it was people that have no clue and were just putting together stuff, guessing basically. And I think they did a good job as far as like trying to put something together, and then he just took it as if everything was 100% true, and then added pluses and minuses. Cabal versus white hat control. It was stupid.
So is that for me or Kerry?
Yeah, that's for you, Gene. Sorry.
Or Indy?
For you, Gene.
For you.
Okay. All right. So underneath Venezuela, you've got a mixture of things. You've got a Tesla group actually up in the Andes, in the area, that is since the late 1800s. That's set up. And then you've got also inner earth beings, specifically the Shambhalans in this case, not the Agarthans. And then you've got, of course, some NAZI presence as well. And back after Operation I Jump, after they overflew the White House in 1952, the NAZIs made a deal. The Antarctic Treaty, the secret part of the treaty, is a deal with the NAZIs.
He's still doing code stuff. Just say Nazis, motherfucker.
And the cabal, so that they would have a certain amount of people in every single industry, every single major corporation, within the major governments of every single place. And that's why the cabal started getting nukes to different people besides the US, the Soviets, because the problem that the NAZIs had is they did not have at that time a capacity of that technology. They were advanced in particle weapons, in the Hanabus, the flying discs, all of that, very, very advanced. They had already been set up bases on the moon and Mars in the 30s, so they were already out there. And then as that developed, due to who gave them that to help them get that technology, besides Victor Schauberger, Maria Orsic, you had a treaty with the Greys, and of course, they're just the foot soldiers, as Kerry said, of the Alpha Draco. So that turned out, they on every one of their Dark Fleet vessels, they have to have a top, as you would say, a prime Draco. They don't like that. They're a very proud race. The Aryan race is very, very proud. So in what then entailed is they had a breakaway group from the NAZIs that actually, because of that. And so now that was part of a breakaway fifth column in the Draco themselves, because they did not like all the nanotech that's inside them either. And they saw that it was limiting their growth and their potential. And they saw the breakaway of their own AI on their Sirius. So that helped to grow that. And then as far as also what's under Venezuela, as well as, of course, the Falklands and everything, you have two types in the oil spill, quote, oil spill in the Gulf, of black goo on Earth. You have the black goo that came from the Scion system when that planet broke up. And then you have the good black goo of the Earth. And so that is actually, they got some of that in the, took it to the UK and Port and Dallas, and they were trying to change it into the other stuff. And it actually changed the scientists. 5 of them looked at their lives and committed suicide in horrific manners. And a bunch of the others became very, very spiritual and started helping the White Hats. So that's on the black goo, and some of what's going on with the dumps that go from Venezuela up through Colombia, up through the Pan Am area, all the way up into Mexico, and of course under the border and up into Dulce, into Fort Huachuca, which is now completely under the White Hats. And that is a massive, massive dome that is connected with all the various types of tunnels to the submarine system, the maglev system that went under a recent person who's deceased. I think everybody knows, Cheney. What?
Why can't he say? Is he talking about James Rink? Why would you not say that? This is so dumb. I mean, maybe it's not James. I don't know, but he knows nothing about the dumbs and what's actually going on there. It's all fairy tale made up stuff. Just so you know.
He has his own maglev going under his house, and so this whole system, the Fort Huachuca, is using EMP technology, which if you engineer it slightly different, you can create wormholes and plasma balls. And this is what now is happening with the Golden Dome. That can also, if it were to go on full scale, could do like an ArtNet, like you see in Men in Black 3. It could also give free energy to the entire Earth, as well as instant communication anywhere on Earth, open up portals, is what it's currently doing into domes and doing plasma bursts into the dome. So it opens portals, removes the kids and whatever else that's good in there, and then plasma bursts the dome and completely wipes out the inside infrastructure, and then they come in and reboot it. And it's also been doing when the CERN tried to open up a portal to a demonic dimension, it instead steered it to where it brought in angelic beings to help the White Hats. And so they're starting to freak out pretty heavy because they're afterwards trying to analyze that, and they're giving a big presentation, and the scientists were up on stage and they're looking out in the audience, and they look at the teleprompter, look back down at the audience, there was 100, now 50 people, and their supercomputer's gone. Their quantum computer's gone, and people on stage are disappearing because it's moving people to the Armageddon line through the portals where they resonate. All it has to do is open up a portal, dimensional gateway between the two lines, and they'll transmute automatically because that's where they resonate. So the Golden Dome's full capacity is not up. It's not exercising that at this time, but it is helping clean a lot of the dumps. It's why they've gone so fast lately. They're up to over 90% of the deep state dumps. And I'm saying the dumps all the way down to the center of the Earth, but the deep state dumps are now under the White Hats. The Greys being the good grace happened.
Okay, so we got a bunch of mumbo jumbo. This is where I say Gene goes into like this like trance mode where like he doesn't even know what he's saying anymore. You guys are having fun. Looks like she looks like Courtney Love to me now. Yeah, Courtney Love's looking a little bit rough these days too. I was going to just say this is where Gene goes into like mode where he doesn't even know what he's saying, and these dumbs were all said to be taken out. He was talking about that the deepest one I think he was saying was underneath Australia, Pine Gap, and that was the worst was South Africa, southern South Africa was an entire dumb, but Pine Gap was like the gnarliest one going to the center of the earth, and how they were cleaning up all of that. Like this is I don't know. This is just, it's retardation to me. We're going to skip forward, and I've already kind of seen, like, we're going to go to a couple things, and right now it's just being dominated by Gene, the idiot. So we'll see what else. But Kerry is, like, just miserable beyond. Oh, good Lord, this is crazy. Let's fast forward. All right. Gene gets into, like, I guess, explaining Indigo. Let's go to Indigo and hear a little more from her. So at least we don't have to listen to Gene or Kerry for a little bit.
Building this virus type thing with an AI that runs them with an AI, you know, how they called it an astro.
That just had me thinking of something with when you're talking about Mars and like control being shifted to Mars. This was something that I was talking about with Rob last night, was how I was listening to Elon Musk, and I almost feel like he is the commander of the Men in Black programs on the planet, and essentially all of the elitists that they're buying up their ticket on Mars, they're buying up land, and they already have military bases there and everything going on, that they're preparing for the sun's expansion, because the sun is expanding, and that eventually we're going to be like Venus. Like our future is actually a very Venusian type world where we will actually crystallize in the future. And so some of these things are being done out of fear is what I get on a human level, like to become a species that exceeds this planet and goes to other places, that we've been doing this all along. I think, Kerry, you mentioned that before when we talked about the AI. When we talked about how species developed AI to basically get off their system. And one of the things that had occurred in the Orion system was that they did that so that they could get out of some of those systems, but then just continue to monitor their planet with autonomous AI robots and things like this. But that what's being done on Mars, it is in collaboration with Martians and Dracos and Saturnian AI, like non-human intelligences, but that it's also being done out of fear because of the future and where we're going in the future. And that there's some.
And so we've gotten to a point now in questioning everything that there's a lot of people that don't even know if they believe in space, or that what they're telling us about space is true at all. Like that there's like the firmament or some grand illusion around whatever this is that we're in, whether it's flat, round, oddly shaped, or whatever. There's people that don't even necessarily believe in space aliens, like Sabrina Wallace believes more of like The Witcher, where it's interdimensionals, it's just different dimensions. As opposed to there actually being a Mars and stuff like that. Maybe it's symbology that we're seeing with Saturn and Mars and some of these stuff. So some of these narratives that are getting pushed around, there's that. I know in the super soldier community, they still, I think, believe in this stuff. So I'm hoping to get some of them to come on and at least talk about some of this stuff. But like I said, man, it's like I don't want to also breed misinformation, but it's tough. But I'd like to have these conversations because I am interested in the search for truth. We got to have these conversations, I guess. But I just wanted to note that they continue on these same narratives that they've had for a while when we don't know what the hell's going on Mars, if there even is a real Mars or if it's all an illusion, a trickery, a part of the dark magic. I don't know. I tend to believe the world is round and that there is space, but what do I know? Who freaking knows? That's the whole problem with all the psyops they've run on us and cause us to question everything. And then some people will be like, how could you be so stupid? The Earth is obviously flat. How could you be so stupid? Obviously, we sent a rover onto Mars and all this shit. It's like, all right, bro. I mean, thank the government because and Hollywood, they fucking all lie to us. Don't know what to tell you.
There's some sort of like humanitarian non-acceptance of the thresholds of merging into the future. And I almost feel like this anchors into the whole Venezuelan grid infrastructure as well. Do you mind if I screen share with you? Because there's just some of these things also that Gene Decode had mentioned that I wanted to see if I could tie in, because he just had mentioned about that there will be these organic Stargate locations in Venezuela that will open up and actually clear the dumbs out. And I feel like that is, and I'll just go ahead and share now, because I feel like we can riff off the map as well, which is really cool. I feel like it's some of these locations that I actually tried it, because when I was doing the remote viewing, I picked up on these particular sacred sites. Because Gina talked about the Shambalian beings as well, and I feel like Angel Falls in Venezuela is a Shambhala location site, that it is like an intermediary portal site where, you know, a lot of these future Earth codes are coming in. The whole new Earth prophecy is that the whole swaddling cloth of the seventh root race will emerge from the Amazon. So it's like, I almost feel like that this is some sort of like call, like this is some sort of global call. Like yeah, we have the exopolitical war and like the whole 3D timeline with like Russia and China, but it's like, it feels like that this is a deeper awakening of all of the codes that the Amazon has, and also like a protective shield or force that's awakening. Because this location, I think it is the Guyana Shield. Yeah, this is revered as like a 12D shield by the indigenous there. And this whole like corner of Venezuela is super sacred with Mount Roraima. Mount Roraima is where that tree of life is. And then even if you tune into this like whole basin, it legitimately looks like a shield, which is very interesting. And I wanted to bring this up with you guys because I'm like, you know, it's not very often that I get to run these kinds of ideas off of, you know, Kerry Cassidy and Gene Decode. Like, you guys are so awesome. I'm like, I know this is going to activate codes for you guys and bring more information in, but this is, I mean, I feel like this has 3 massive sacred sites, you know, and then this whole thing looks like almost like a shield. But I'm almost tuning into this. I feel that these are these particular locations that would be cleansing the dumb structures. I don't know, maybe Gene.
And yeah, they're basically useless. We don't have to watch too much more of this. It's just garbage. I can't believe people are still even tuning into this stuff. We're awakening to what? Awakening to what? That like where's the awakening? There's no awakening. There's just more psyops, more people that have conflicting narratives, more people that are coming into certain conversations and pushing bullshit. And this is exactly what Sean is saying here. It's just they're useless, and they're definitely sick puppies. All right, let's see if there's anything else, because I could see in here that Gene's going to talk about bullshit that he knows nothing about. Eventually, he's going to pump his website, and they're going to show the website that I unfortunately was a part of helping in the beginning, and I was running the whole damn thing. And it took him a year to get that damn thing up because he was such an idiot because he has no discernment. Let's go here and let's just try a little bit more. We'll just try a little bit more and see what we can do.
Well, so I found the guy with the Mercedes keys, and then I went, his car didn't start. So I was like, I need to get to the base because they're going to call us in, and it's got to be now. So I went to my car and go, please start. So it started. I went in. I had the day shift for the first part of it, and then I got shifted 12-hour night shift, and I went to drive in at night, and I saw this arcing where the battery is, and I'm like, oh dear, I better check that when I get off, and it's daylight. So I get out and I open up the hood of my car, and I have no wire from the coil to the top of the distributor cap. I'm like, so I start the car, and it's still running. I thought maybe it's arcing over the hood, you know, through the middle of the hood. I'm like, okay, let me get crazy here and put my finger on top of the distributor cap, see if I can blow it away. And I did, and nothing. I'm like, well, thank you for running, but I don't understand how. And thank you.
I don't know what he's talking about there. I don't care. Think we'll get anything useful out of this? Let's listen to. Okay. I'll say my part. Kerry Cassidy.
Yes, yeah. Technology-wise, it's very important.
And for planets to go interdimensional.
Yes, so, absolutely. And then it can also be made monotonic in many different energetic forms and turn colors, be purple gold and all different kinds of things for healing the human being. And so, like, I had a picture.
No, shut up, Gene. I want to hear this crazy lady because it's just funny.
Head of their secret space program, and he's been to Inner Earth and all of this many times. In fact, he stayed down there for quite a long time at one point. And they're published in English by Peter Moon. And I have interviewed Peter Moon and investigated. I've read all the books, although there are books that are not in English. Those I haven't read. That I think that there's a couple that might have come out more recently. But anyway, they say that there is a mountain in Romania that's all gold. It's a gigantic mountain, and they have that Romania may have the most gold on Earth, bedded in their.
Okay. Yeah, we're not going to get nothing useful from any of this, which is not surprising. It just, if anything that I can do to shatter because like the way that I've explained it, and I've explained it before, like I said, we're coming full circle, and I've listened to these people years ago, and some people have come on my channel, you don't do the same thing, D, and your channel has changed. Yeah, it's changed. I can't fucking stand listening to these people anymore. I can't do this. Like every once in a while we do it, and we do it for entertainment purposes only. Well, you can only allow so much bullshit like this to go into your brain because it will go into your subconscious. It's just like certain movies and stuff. I don't put myself through that stuff anymore. Or if I do watch something just to see what they're putting out there for the predictive programming and the various ways that they're doing stuff. Like I've been watching the last season of Stranger Things just to see kind of like what they're doing, and like the big finale in the middle part of the season was like one of the characters came out as gay. Like, come on. Why does everything have to be gay and lesbian and all this kind of stuff? Like, I don't mind it being in stuff. Like, I'm not trying to like say that I have control over all of it and people could do it. But like, wasn't that like the 90s or the early 2000s was like all the come out gay stuff? And that was their big like deal. Like, oh, we still love you. Like, the fuck? I don't get it, man. Anyways, like, you can't put yourself through this stuff as much as what I'm saying. And I see the numbers kind of like dropping off a little bit. Maybe it's because people are busy this time of day. I hope that this can shatter the veil that these frauds have put over people that goes back since this stuff began especially after 9/11. That's when the truther term was coined, was after 9/11, or the people that were exposing 9/11. That's when truther came out. And then a lot of those people have gone away because they realize that the public is never going to wake up and actually do something that's going to stop these guys from actually doing it. And that's it's all fake and gay is exactly what it is. I'm not here to push doom. I push, I don't push shit. Like, believe whatever you want. You don't have to believe me. And if you love fantasies, then you love fantasies. And we're sick of the fantasies, most of us on here. If anything, I can break the illusion, because when I got out of, like, I was big into Hollywood. Eminem was one of like my favorite freaking artists of all time. That got shattered. I broke away from that. Then I got sucked into all these guys like Nino, Wano Savin, Gene Decode, Kerry Cassidy, Scott McKay, Jaco, and all these guys. I got pulled into this, and I believed them. And then that got shattered. If anything I can do is poke fun at this and then just give you logical things to like ask the questions, and then to know that there's another community that exists within or around this. I don't even consider myself a truth or anything like that. A truth seeker for sure. We're here and we're ready to like have the conversation with you and help you understand that these people are all fucking just lying to you, doing it for various purposes. A lot of them handled by all the way to the three-letter agencies, Mossad, CIA, all the freaking FBI, all that kind of stuff is involved in running this stuff, because the military, the CIA, the FBI, they have done nothing to help shut down false narratives. Freedom of speech, yay. But to allow this to go on and to not have anybody in the government to be like a legit person to actually tell you like truth. We are in a world run by some kind of evil force. You can call that Satan or not. I believe in a kingdom that is not of this world, because this world is a fallen one. And I hope it does not last forever. I hope this world is gone at some point and needs to be done away with. And that we all learn, I don't know what it is. Learn the lesson, remember what it was like to not have God in our lives all the time, to experience a taste of hell as it can be experienced without God. If that's what the point is, then I hope we're getting that lesson, whatever you want to call it. Or we're getting that taste, or we're getting that example. Even if, the people that die young and all that kind of stuff. This is an example. What's happening here could be looked at, understood as an example of what it's like basically the entire shebang to be run by that which opposes God, to be evil, to be greedy, to be a control mechanism, to have absolute control of all the entities that exist there. And these fools on the alternative media that'll share some truth with you. This is just the mood that I've been in lately, in a way, because I'm so tired of it, and I have been for a long time, and a lot of people are saying that. But at the same respect, poking holes in it and destroying the veil that these fake truthers have put over people is part of my mission. Because when they talk about SRA and human trafficking and adrenochrome and some of these things, They are now running cover for that by running these distractions and telling you these fairy tales that the dumbs are being taken out, that the med beds are being rolled out, that Nasara is coming into play, and none of that's real. I've been debunking the shit out of it because all you have to do is just look into it a little bit, and you're like, really? And they hold it up to be like the truth. And now we're like going to talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis and give more credence to Wayne Willett, Wayne 07. It's all bullshit. Nino came out with his viral video that nothing goes viral unless they intend it to. Same thing with Derek Johnson. They're frauds completely set up by the system to run false narratives and give false hope so people don't pay attention to what's really going on and ask the real questions because you're too busy trying to figure out if there could be good and bad Greys. Is it possible that there could be good and bad Greys? Are they all demons? Is there even a Mars? Is it all a fucking charade? Is it all a joke? Is it all a sick fucking joke made by a Hollywood studio? I don't fucking know, but I'd like to be able to at least help you have the questions that you should be asking these fools in their comment section, and then watch your ass get blocked really fast. Just ask something critical. That's a fucking cult. Now, if you come in here and just slander and attack my people, I'll block you. But I also hold Booma streamers, and you can come in, you can talk some shit, and we'll have a conversation. But that's the hope, is that we could break away from the people that are spreading the hopium, false hope that tickles the ears, like Tanya's saying here. That was the whole point when I found out these guys were frauds, was to come out here and be a voice to oppose them and to have, and I didn't want to do this, and I didn't want to do lives, and I didn't want to like put my face out there and necessarily chance getting doxxed and getting attacked the way that I have. But I'm willing to do it because I really thought by now there'd be more of us. Mike Gill and Crash do it in their own way. And there's a couple people out there, and there's some people online that are doing it, but I don't see a lot of podcasters doing it. And look, if you still want to like guys like 7Cs and some of these other podcasters, go for it. If you still want to like Gene Decode and Kerry Cassidy, that's your prerogative. You have a freedom of choice. I'm just telling you, I have a million reasons not to trust Gene Decode, Kerry Cassidy, or anybody that's connected to those people. Indigo Angel's just pushing a whole bunch of woo-woo. They all have their own little take and their own little slice of the pie, and they're trying to get as much money as possible while keeping people distracted as the biodigital convergence continues to roll in. And I'm not trying to be doom booma, because my hope is not in things of this world. It is hope in a kingdom yet to come, or that does exist and we need to connect more with. Whatever you want to say. It's story time for adults, and people like, I just released that one that I did a good year ago on the Kim Guggen that also included Timothy Charles Holmseth. There is no such thing as a Pentagon pedophile task force. He is a complete fraud with gives and goes that wouldn't be necessary if you were connected into a big operation that would pay you pretty handsomely, I would think. So you wouldn't have to be asking for money. So there's all these things that are just simple little things that you can tie into. But I said in that one, and I shared the short, lots of you out there just love being lied to. You don't take anything seriously. It's all entertainment. It just fills your day, makes you feel good in between work and dealing with the kids, dealing with family, dealing with drama, and dealing with pain. If that's your choice, that's your choice. But to not actively call out liars in something called the Truther Movement is an abomination. And none of them are doing that. There's no Gene Decode that's going to call out anybody. He won't even call out the pedophile, Phil Godleski, in this movement. They will not call each other out as frauds to the degree that they should in the Truther Movement. We should be sorting through all this bullshit. And the whole idea with some of these guys is that it was all taken care of before that Biden guy ever took office. And well, it's not even really Biden and stuff. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care if there's a million people playing Trump or a million actors, clones, and aliens that are fifth dimensional whatevers playing Bidens and stuff like that. They all getting all kinds of stuff. There was talk about how Biden's going to receive 3 pensions. Oh, that's just a narrative they throw out there to wake up the normies and blah, blah, blah. How is it waking up anybody? How is Trump not following through with his promises and constantly lying to people, waking up anybody? I could go on and on. I won't keep you for very long. It'll be nice to have a little bit of a shorter one compared to some of the longer things. There's things to look forward to. Biscuits is coming back soon. Dean will be on soon. I'm hoping to work with a little bit more of Chris of the 6-7 podcast here soon, but we'll see how that goes. And then when I get back, when Sabrina's on vacation, but we'll see what happens with that whole thing. Definitely looking forward to working with Sabrina some more. And we got a nice little community over here with some of the synergists, the Boomas, chats and peeps and babes and the Booma bibs and all that fun that we have over here. We still have a lot of good times and we still seek truth. I will still ask these questions, have these discussions. I'm willing to talk about anything, whether it's the cloning labs, cloning, space aliens versus the Witcher, interdimensionals. I want to talk more about God and the different faiths that people have and try to make sense of what truth actually looks like when it comes to the spiritual stuff. I'm releasing a bunch of stuff that is older work on the YouTube, and some of it, if I'm praising Trump, praising Q, or anything like that in that, just understand, to date, it's been a journey. You're seeing parts of that journey, but there's still valuable information in it. I appreciate you all. We'll keep bringing this the best we can. We're going to keep bringing this community together, these different communities, and if more can join us, because there's people in these cults. This is going in the cults and channelers section of the YouTube, but that's the way I look at this. If you're in these cults and you feel like you can't ask questions because people are getting called out or doxxed or blocked and all these kinds of things just for asking questions, like, that's a cult. That's what happened with Non-Vaxxer and Sabrina. Non-Vaxxer wanted it done his way. He only has one way. That's a cult. He's trying to be a leader. He's the top of the pyramid. He's the father of God if he's Gene Decode. And I can allow for a certain amount of agree to disagree, and you don't have to believe a damn thing I say. I am not an authority. I'm not a truther. I'm just another retard out here on the internet doing my best and telling you what I think. And sometimes you're not going to like it. But hey, that's how it goes, right? We don't always agree with our good friends, our family, or the acquaintances that we make. But sometimes we like them for various reasons. I hope you like me just because sometimes I'm just stupid. And you can laugh at me. You don't always even have to laugh with me. You can laugh at me because I'm kind of goofy and silly and out of my mind in a lot of ways. So I appreciate you all. It was January 7th, 2026. And I appreciate you all. God bless. And we'll see you soon. Catch you on the next one. Peace.